Dr. Michelle Thompson. I'm the Medical Director of Lifestyle Medicine for the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. I'm also Associate Professor at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. I'm so excited to be with you today to talk about eating well for less, eating healthy on a budget, and I am accompanied today by my team who will be having a thoughtful conversation with me around how to help ourselves as well as our patients live happier and healthier with meaningful ways. So I'm going to introduce you first to Sophia.
Hi, my name is Sophia Bazanis. I am currently a fourth year medical student at the University of Pittsburgh on my integrative medicine rotation. I am very excited to be here today.
And Dr. Grist.
Dr. Austin Grist. I am a third year resident from UPMC Shadyside Family Medicine residency. I'm here joining in on my lifestyle rotation.
And lastly, Jonathan.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Lee. I am a third year medical student at LeCom. I'm here as part of my family med rotation.
So as you can see, we have integrative medicine, family medicine, lifestyle medicine, and we are coming together today as a team really to bring you some information. Jonathan has volunteered to be our moderator and is going to ask some questions, and we're just going to have a conversation and make this flow naturally and freely. And so hopefully you will learn something from being with us and taking this time with us today. So thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. I mean, everything with this talk comes from the idea of what we can do to serve the patient, and it's coming from the perspective of people are tired, it's winter, everyone doesn't want to go out. So what's the easiest, or the simplest, most actionable tips and advice that they can implement into their life? So the first half of it, we were thinking about the eating on the budget portion. And so questions like, where do you start? And what are small changes that you could do right now or in the next few days?
And I love that. And so the reason this got inspired was because Sophia actually did a nutrition class as part of her medical school, which is rare, by the way. It used to be that we did not learn a lot of nutrition in medical school and residency. And so times they are changing. And so since we had Sophia with us, we thought we're going to dig into what did she learn. So Sophia, do you want to open it up with sharing any thoughts or ideas of things that you learned along the way and what might you want to share?
Yes. So, like Dr. Thompson said, I did take a nutrition course last block, which is pretty rare for medical students. Usually, we're not given the opportunity to take a course like this, and it was not a predominant part of my education up until this point. It was really valuable of really looking at it from a patient's perspective. And a big part of what we did focus on is how do you eat on a budget and getting patients who are lower income and what tips can we offer them to eat healthier, given all of the restrictions of not everybody has access to grocery stores and fresh produce and lots of money and time. And how can you make that more accessible to people? And then also recognizing all of the dietary constraints patients have. Of a lot of our patients are diagnosed with hypertension, hyperlipidemia, type 2 diabetes, and how can you go grocery shopping and keep those conditions in mind, and what should diets look like in a lot of patients on weight loss journeys as well, and tips for that we can incorporate of what should your diet look like and what foods are important to incorporate.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I do want to also just tell you there is a whole grocery shopping video that you can take a look at. It's called Shop with a Doc, and it is myself as well as one of our dietitians going grocery shopping at Aldi. And that was designed because I used to physically go grocery shopping with all of my patients, and I just got tired of going grocery shopping all the time for myself and for everybody else. So I put it on video for all to see, and people do say that it's very helpful. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. And also, Aldi is not always accessible to people. So this was also inspired by the fact that my closest store that I can go get food is at Dollar General. We also see some of our patients are going to Dollar Tree. There is also, is it Save a Lot, or what was the other grocery store that we were talking about, Sophia? There's one that you went in and prepared a recipe in.
It was Dollar General that I went to.
Dollar General. Yeah. So do you want to talk about that experience of what that looked like for you?
Yes. So in my nutrition class, they had us do this project where we went to our local non-grocery store. So not a Walmart, not a Whole Foods, not a Trader Joe's, but like a Dollar General type store where they have other things and they have some groceries. And we selected a recipe. So I made myself this peanut pasta dish and I went into my local Dollar General down the street from me. And it was a really eye-opening experience. The first ingredient I had to find for my dish was soy sauce, and it was a little bit hard to find. And I went to the shelf, and there was only one option, and it was a high sodium option. Um, and I know we spent all this time telling patients, cut back on your sodium. You should have 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. You shouldn't go above 2000. And in the recipe that I selected, there was no alternate for soy sauce. And the only soy sauce there had 1,000 milligrams per serving. And that's what I had to walk away with. And then I got some pasta, I got some peanut butter, and all those were fine. And then I wanted to add some broccoli to my dish. And I was like, okay, well, it's a non-grocery store, so there's no produce here. That's okay. I know what to do. I'll look for frozen broccoli. That shouldn't be too hard. And I walked through the whole freezer section once, and I was like, I don't see any sort of produce. There's no vegetables. And I had to walk through a second time and look at every single section individually. And I was almost at the final freezer and I was looking up and down all the shelves. And it was the very top shelf I found one section of frozen vegetables. I think there was frozen corn, frozen broccoli, and one more thing way tucked back there. If I didn't have the time to look for the vegetables, I would have missed it. And if you're somebody coming into the Dollar General who has a mobility disability, if you can't reach, if you're in a wheelchair, if you have poor vision and you can't see the vegetables, there would be no way to access vegetables at all. And there were only two or three options. And it was really eye-opening of all this time we spend advising our patients on what you should do, and then putting myself in the position and seeing how patients actually are so limited in their options. And we can advise all day until you put yourself in somebody's shoes and really see the difficulties and barriers that come about, and empathizing with the patients that you do need to look harder just to find a frozen vegetable option. And it does take that extra effort. And maybe there are no low sodium options available, and we can provide you with all the tools and the healthy recipes, and really understand that our patients are trying their hardest and that there are just a lot of systemic barriers in place for patients who are low income.
Yeah, thanks for all of that. And I think the message is you have to be prepared to succeed, and you have to figure out how to ask for help. And at the lifestyle medicine department, that's what we do. We are here to help you. We're here to help you navigate and try to figure it out. I myself went into Dollar Tree and Dollar General just to see what access there was. And when I started looking at this, I actually created a whole group medical visit around eating well for less, because I do think that we need to make sure that we are teaching to all levels. We even look at hunger as a vital sign. You know, not everybody can get access to food or have the money for food. And so we talk about what resources are out there for you so that you can get the food, so even if you can't walk into the store to have that. So, and I think one of the big things that Sophia was talking about is being flexible and able to modify. And okay, so you wanted broccoli, but you can't have broccoli, so maybe you get green beans, or if there's not fresh, do you go to frozen? Do you get it from a can? Can you ask the person that works there for assistance? And then people will help you. And I think just being open-minded and know that once you do it a couple of times, it does get easier. But that first navigation through that store might be a really big challenge, right? Even learning to look at labels, or what do you do if the soy sauce has too much sodium? Well, maybe you water it down. Maybe you just use a tiny bit of it. Maybe you leave it out. Maybe you put in some other spices. Tonight, I'm going to be doing a talk on spices and the importance of the nutritional profiles of spices, and how spices, dried spices, can really add a lot of zest and pizzazz to the meals. So, and you can do that for inexpensive as well. So I'd like to invite Dr. Grist to, chime in. Is there anything you want to add about your experience that you've had with your patients in Shadyside Hospital area in Pittsburgh, even being in the inner city, and some of the challenges that you might see?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So, a lot of the conversations we have at my clinic, because we are a community clinic, is the fact that, we focus a lot on areas of Pittsburgh that we would consider food deserts, or just areas where there's not a lot of access to food, or even access, more importantly, to like fresh produce, fruits, and vegetables, because we know those foods go a long way into really helping people with a lot of medical conditions such as hypertension, type 2 diabetes, even people with GI things like IBS, Crohn's, gluten allergies. And we really have taken the time to review sort of the mapping out of those areas around Pittsburgh. And it's surprising like how difficult it can be to reach these areas, especially for patients who may be wheelchair bound or just won't move as good as they are now. And especially in current conditions, where as the time of recording this, there's a lot of snow on the ground. So we know people like can't just go out and walk down the street. They're at risk of slipping and falling. So we take a lot of time just to really know exactly where they can access food, and just making sure they're aware of that. And unfortunately, you will see a lot of like dollar stores and Dollar Trees, Dollar Generals that are pretty close to most people, but unfortunately, a lot of those places don't have those like fresh foods that we're looking for. The other things I would add is that, like, if you're looking for your fresh fruits or frozen vegetables there, and there's not options, they have like the canned vegetables. And the issue with those are sometimes are pretty high sodium because of the preservatives there. So again, other options would be, if you do get those foods and you're trying to make those like a healthy option for you, so really washing those cans out, washing all the sodium out, because you don't want to just prepare them straight out of the can. They have breads there, and you can get like the whole grain breads there. The other thing I like to add is that there's a lot of stores that probably don't really pop up when you look for them on like maps or Google. And these would be a lot of your international stores. Here in Pittsburgh, we have a lot of international stores like the Nepali stores, Indian stores. And if you go into those stores, they have a lot of really cheap, healthy options for food. They have fresh produce in those stores. It's just not a lot of people know about them. And me and my wife, we frequent those stores often because they're in walking distance to us, and we can get really everything we need there for 3 meals a day for a whole week. So those are some other things that really people should keep an eye out. Just like look what's in your community, because you might not even know it's there unless like you really look for it with your own eyes.
Jonathan, but I'm really happy that you brought that up, because that's something that I never really thought about. And we were talking yesterday before you joined us about cost, of how things can be so much less expensive, of even things like tofu. We looked up the price of tofu was $1.58, and we looked up the price of chicken and beef and pork, which was all like $10. So there's a significant difference. And in talking about washing things off and making those modifications, excellent in adding that in. I would also like to say, and I'm going to turn it back over to Jonathan, that Jonathan is in the Erie area. And in Erie, we're very fortunate to have UPMC Neighborhood Center that actually has a food pantry that patients can go in and visit and go grocery shopping in the pantry for free. And so there are different resources that are out there in the city of Pittsburgh. I know that we have the Rescue 412. We were looking at that, where you can get extra food. There's availability of that. We can look at things like CSAs, or community supported agriculture, where you can use your SNAP benefits to get fresh foods delivered. We talked about the Misfit Market, where you can get foods delivered to your home that are, apples or tomatoes that just look funny, but they're still good and healthy. And so, yeah, wonderful. And so, Jonathan, I'm going to turn it back over to you to see what you have to add about the Erie area, and then continue to guide us with these excellent questions for this conversation.
Well, I wanted to ask all of you if you knew of any significant differences between frozen versus fresh versus canned vegetables. That's a very popular discussion point amongst like people who are interested in healthy eating is does preserving the vegetables, in the freezer, does it take away from any of the nutritional value?
Yeah, I think in terms of vegetables and fruit, fresh is always the best option. It's going to be your cleanest option. However, it's not accessible for a lot of people, and sometimes it's hard to buy all this produce and then it goes bad and then you're tossing it. So, frozen is a really great option as well. I have plenty of frozen vegetables. They keep forever in your freezer. You're able to use them. I really don't think you lose out on that much nutritional value with frozen. Um, can be difficult. There are a lot of great canned options. I think, like Dr. Grist was saying, you need to be cautious of sodium, as a lot of the canned beans and chickpeas and things like that can have a lot of sodium. So you can look on the cans, and sometimes they will say low sodium, and then you can relax a little bit around it. If not, like another great option is to rinse them out, and then you're decreasing some of that sodium. But frozen and canned fruits and vegetables are better than nothing. So if it's a concern of, oh, I don't really want to have canned, it's much better to add canned black beans to your salad than no black beans at all if you're trying to incorporate some protein.
Excellent answer. And I would have said the same thing. I also want to just invite people to think about as you're preparing your food, if you do have fresh food, you can eat it fresh. And then you can eat it half cooked when it's half cooked. And then you can eat it when it's completely cooked. And that's all going to give you a different nutritional profile. And so, what we're looking to do really is to expand our nutritional profile. So, in the end of this conversation, the big thing that we want you to take away is eating the rainbow. Can you eat the red, yellow, blue, green, orange? Can you think about variety on your plate? Can you think about adding some spices in? Can you think about the app called the Daily Dozen, which are the 12 healthy things that we should try to do in our day? And actually, I will just pull up that app as we are talking. And it is a little checkbox, actually. Let's see. It looks like this. Did you get your beans? Did you get your berries? Did you get your fruits and your veggies and your spices and your water? And did you move your body? And so, if we just focus on trying to do those 12 things in our day, that's enough. Really, I think trying to not put too much pressure on yourself, and it's process, not perfection, and it's moving the needle in the direction of making some little changes that are sustainable changes, not just saying, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do all the things right. I'm going to promise you that each and every one of us in this space is not doing all the things right, and we're just all trying, and your best is good enough, and your best is going to change from day to day. So really just celebrating the success of being careful and mindful and making a choice to consider your food. I was raised in a household where we didn't really think about nutritional value of food. I'm Italian, and so we had pasta and meatballs. There's not a lot of nutritional value in that. Maybe we had like a little bit of iceberg lettuce as our salad, and that was that. And then, oh, well, we had bread too. So white bread. So I had to learn a lot along the way of how I was going to be able to feed this machine. And it's a journey for each and every one of us. We say all the time that disease runs in families because food runs in families and recipes run in families. And the way we do everything is the way our family taught us. And so our genes load the gun, but our environment pulls the trigger. And so what we're really trying to do is to just try to learn. And we're all learning. I'm learning, they're learning, you're learning, and we're all in this together. So I'm going to turn it to Dr. Grist if he has anything to add, and then back to Jonathan.
Sure. Yeah. Just going back to like the preparing of foods from Jonathan's like original question. I think the one extra thing I will add is a lot of the frozen foods seem to be pretty accessible for a lot of people. And I would just encourage people that if they do get the frozen foods, a lot of those bags might be like the microwavable steamed bags. And although that is like a quick and easy way, and most people do have like a microwave and it's easy to do it, sometimes you might not have those come out as like flavorful as you want them to be, or might not be as tasty, and they might lose some of that nutritional value when you could easily just take the bag and just saute it in a pan really quick with just a little bit of oil and some seasonings, And you can prepare it and keep a lot of that nutritional value, as well as adding a little bit more flavor to it. So you don't necessarily have to take the steamed bags and do it. It's all the same thing. It's all frozen vegetables. So there's a lot of different ways you can prepare that. I love to air fry my frozen bags of broccoli, just a little bit of like low sodium seasoning, just a little bit of like canola oil, and it turns out really, really good. So that's just the one thing I'd like to add about for preparing for foods like that.
Yeah, and also tofu and tempeh in the air fryer are really yummy. And you can add things like liquid aminos. If you can find access to liquid aminos, you can just add nutritional yeast or, any of the spices. Black pepper, that's usually an easy one. Sometimes people don't think about adding things like cinnamon or pumpkin spice or different things like that that actually can add a lot of pizzazz to your food and some nutrition in there. So, all right, Jonathan.
I just think it's funny because you said pumpkin spice, and I only think about like Starbucks coffee for pumpkin spice. I didn't know that you could actually have it as like a healthy option. But I wanted to like plug another app that you provide for us. It's called like Yuka. It's an app that you can have on your phone that you can scan the barcode of any product in the store, and it will actually give you a nutritional value grading. And for me, I was like recently shopping for like nuts, and I found out, oh, Blue Diamond smoked nuts, they're pretty bad. Apparently, smoked nuts, the app was telling me like they contain a lot more carcinogens, which is sad because I love the taste. But there are things like extra large peanuts from like Sam's Club, which has great nutritional value and it kind of like helps inform my shopping with a quick, easy way. And I think that could be useful for a lot of people who are just once again stressed out, with very low um, energy after like a day's work.
Yeah, I love that. And my son is always using that app, the Yuka app. I just sent him something the other day asking him, to his opinion about something because some of the protein bars we were grabbing, he was telling me that their score was very poor. Um, and going back to Dollar Tree, we just recently went on a travel. We took a trip, and I got a lot of our nuts from Dollar Tree. So you can use that app to scan even at the Dollar Tree. And so we were able to take cashews. I think we took some pistachios, we took some peanuts with us on our trip. And so there are some healthy choices in there, even thinking about dried fruit as a snack that with no added sugar. Aldi carries things like that as well. So our at UPMC Lifestyle Medicine, we have a YouTube channel and there's tons of recipes and pop-up talks and culinary medicine that you can take a look at to just see to get you some inspiration and some education about next steps in your health journey. Jonathan, do you have any other questions for us around eating healthy on a budget, eating well for less, or anything else we might want to talk about?
I think the biggest thing is we should probably circle back to what to look at for a food label. Um, we've been talking about, decreasing sodium, and I think people would like some more concrete guidance on how much is too much sodium, what's too much carbs or protein and all that.
Yeah, well, I am going to direct you to the Shop with a Doc video for that because it is very um, dedicated to going through and looking at the food labels and really, looking at the foods that can be tricky, like peanut butter that has a lot of added sugar. So, I want to make sure that people like go and look at that video. It was really thoughtfully done. It's not high quality. It is just like we were in it. We were like in the trenches doing the work. We were also talking about when you buy a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables and then you may not get the opportunity to use them. What do? You can put them then in the freezer. I grew up very poor. We were lucky to have food. So for me, food waste is something that I am just like so passionate about. Even if if I make something and it's a disaster, like parsnips is one thing. I made parsnip fries and it was so terrible. And I was like, but I have to eat these parsnip fries because I don't want to waste. And they still have nutrition in them. So I should eat the parsnip fries because the parsnips like otherwise get wasted, right? So, so I think we need to think about food waste. I think we need to think about how can we make our own vegetable broth. We could take all the old, food parts that we would either put into a compost or put into a bag or a bowl in your freezer, and then you could just keep it, and then you could dump it into a water and some bouillon, vegetable bouillon or not, and spices, and make your own broth so that you can make your own soup, which is more of a low sodium vegetable broth, which one thing that we do struggle with, finding a low sodium vegetable broth for our soups and stews and things like that. I was going to share that tonight in the talk that we're doing for the medical students on the spices really is around making chili. And so when they asked me my opinion about what to add into the spices, there was a whole list of spices that they were talking about, but my addition was pumpkin and cinnamon, because I think people don't think about that. People do think of Starbucks coffee, right? But you can actually put pumpkin in your coffee, in your black coffee at home, just to give it some pizzazz. I always say less is more. Try to eat whole and clean as best as possible. The coffee creamers really are full of chemicals. I see it cause a lot of problems with muscle aches and pains, joint aches and pains, headaches, things like that. But we know that I will actually tell you that in my teacup right now is a fresh cinnamon stick. And so I just started buying these to put into my ginger turmeric tea. So we know ginger and turmeric are great for digestion and inflammation. Cinnamon is great for blood sugar control. So, thinking about your spices in that way, I think can be really valuable. I would love to share with you one of the handouts that we have. So we have this beautiful 20-page handout, whole food, plant-based, easy, healthy, and low-cost meals for every day of the week. It gives you an actual shopping list of things that you can look for. It gives you some recipes. It gives you ideas for breakfast, for lunch, for dinners, for snacks, for desserts. And I'm just going to scroll through this. It actually gives you 7 days. So that was day 1. Here we are on day 2, day 3, day 4. And it just gives you some ideas and some inspiration. Overnight oats is a really versatile thing that is inexpensive and easy to make. If you don't like oats, the consistency, you can supplement that with chia instead. You don't have to add animal milk. You can add plant milk. If you don't like plant milk, you can add water. So there's lots of things that you can do. So here is just this handout that really looks at moving the plate from the standard American diet, which is on the left here of what America eats, to more of the whole food, real food. And you can see that colors of the rainbow that I was talking about, the red, yellow, blue, green, orange over there on that plate. It also gives you like allergies and substitutions on here as well. And so that is a great tool and resource that we have for you. And also joining one of our group medical visits can also be really valuable, because it is nice to be in community. When we look at lifestyle medicine, we think of the 6 pillars. We think of sleep, exercise, nutrition, stress management, substance use, and connection with others. Oftentimes, we don't have people in our house that are supportive of our choices. And I'm very passionate about your choice is your business. Your plate is your business. We are not the food police. We do not tell people what to do for their religion or politics. We don't tell people what to do for their food. We teach you to become an intuitive eater, to learn to love the food that loves you back, and really to think about what food nourishes you. Our body is going to change from day to day. So the food that we need and want and need for our body is going to be different. We cannot take Jonathan's eyeglasses and put them on Sophia and expect them to work. So we can't expect that there's going to be one right diet or meal plan for each and every one of us. One thing we know to be true is moving it towards the direction of more whole food, real food, foods that are grown instead of foods that are packaged is going to be a huge benefit for us. And so when you think about that, an apple is growing on the tree, apple chips have been processed, right? So we don't see bagels growing from the tree, but we do see apples, or we do see peaches, or we do see, we do see certain whole foods, real foods, and that's what we want to try to move into or in that direction. We also want to think about minimizing animal products that can cause problems like high cholesterol, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, etc. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you would like to join any of our group medical visits or be part of the lifestyle medicine department, we can give you the information to contact us. UPMC Lifestyle Medicine does have a YouTube channel, as I mentioned. We also have a website. It is through the Department of Family Medicine, and it is the UPMC Lifestyle Medicine program. And Jonathan, do you have any other questions?
If any of you guys want to briefly talk about fiber, I've learned over the last few weeks it's pretty important.
So I will tell you what our dietitian tells everybody: fiber, 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 and then more fiber. And if you're having trouble getting fiber in you, then just start with a little bit of fiber. We don't want anybody to just go and eat a ton of a pile of beans and then get bloated and have trouble and they're uncomfortable, right? So this is all about just doing little bits and making the additions of and the whole food, real foods, adding those things in. Sophia, do you want to add anything in about fiber?
One of the things I wanted to note is that when you're having fiber, it's really important that you have water with it. Fiber can help you with constipation, but if you're not having water, then it can worsen your constipation. It can also help lower cholesterol. Some really great options. You can have whole grain, so brown rice, whole grain bread. Back to some of the canned vegetables we were talking about, canned peas and beans are great options, apples, broccoli, cabbage. So a lot of what Dr. Thompson was saying about the whole foods, real foods, those foods do contain a lot of fiber, and it's really important to add more of that into your diet. It'll really help with your gut health overall.
Dr. Grist, anything you want to add?
Sure. I tell my patients all the time the importance of fiber, especially my patients who do have some GI issues. I think the biggest things are to also just add on is that you can find a lot of like fiber supplements in like the pharmacy or like the snack aisle. You'll see all these like fiber one, like healthy low calorie bars, which can be nice little snacks here and there. I would just encourage people that if they are purchasing those to try to get more fiber in their body, to really just make sure to keep an eye again on the nutritional labels, check to see the amount of fats are there in those, the amount of included added sugars on those, because sometimes too much sugar or fats in those can be less healthy than the fiber they give you anyway. As Sophia was saying, the best things are, again, fresh produce, vegetables, cabbage, beans. But I have some people who use like the fiber one, just like supplement that you scoop into like into a cup of water, and that can sometimes help with just getting a little extra fiber into your body as well, if that's an option for you.
Great. And probiotic rich foods, thinking about adding those foods in, and you don't need a lot. So if you're looking at things like sauerkraut or pickles or pickled vegetables or kombucha or things like that, just a bite, so just thinking about trying things. You don't go to the buffet and eat the entire buffet, right? You go and say, oh, I'm going to try a bite of this, I'm going to have a bite of that. And that actually is the best way to go about doing things. So just be brave and try. And maybe you didn't have a good relationship with broccoli in the past, but maybe now you're going to have a little bit of a better relationship with broccoli. So it's all about just expanding your palate and thinking about what your body needs in this moment. So if you would like to reach out to us, the Lifestyle Medicine Department at UPMC phone number is 412-647-8611. Our email address is lifestylemed@upmc.edu. I personally have my own website, wholeheartedmedicine.org, with a lot of meditations and resources, mindful eating, and that's all there free and available to you, as well as I have Dr. Michelle Thompson on Facebook and MT Yogi Doc on Instagram. It was such a pleasure to be with you today, and this is just truly an example of how we are really practicing life-changing medicine at UPMC. We are teaching our medical students, not just in our School of Medicine at the University of Pittsburgh, but also at Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine. And then our residents at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center also have a lifestyle medicine residency curriculum track that they get to learn. And so the doctors of the future are forever changed because of lifestyle medicine. So with that, we will leave you with all these tips and tools, and Be well.